Hello, and welcome to the Craft and Calling podcast. Today's conversation is really diving into what is needed in terms of who we are as leaders, and then what in terms of our systems and processes on the business front to allow for scalability, to allow for growth. And I cannot think of anyone better than Sean Madole here to represent Madole Construction, but also to really talk about his 40-year tenure in the trade space and how he has grown his business to not just serve Reno, Nevada, but also many, many regions spanning outside of that area. So, Sean, thank you so much for joining us today.
Nice to be here.
I am super excited because when we start these journeys of ours, my great grandfather started the business. I stand on his shoulders from 1922. I can't go back and talk to him about what was in your mind when you started this trades business, but I'd love to hear what was your story? What was the genesis of this company, and kind of what was your thinking that got you started?
Okay, well, this company, I'm basically the third generation in this company right now. This company started as my grandfather started it in the 70s,
Hmm.
and they were basically doing home remodels and speculative, big word, home building. So building spec homes, and so they did that. And then my grandfather passed away at a kind of young age in the early 80s, and my dad and his sister were both working in the family business, and they worked together for a little while and then figured out they couldn't work together. So they kind of split. They kind of went their own separate ways. And then my dad started his own business, and his sister and her husband continued on with Madole Construction,
Hmm.
and they did that. So then, as of course, as a kid growing up, I was working with my dad, and then and then when my dad got towards wanting to retire and things like that, he stopped doing what he was doing, and I wasn't really ready to retire, so I bought this company back from my uncle and started running doing this again.
That's great. So how many years have you actually been doing Madole construction consecutively?
I've been doing this since 2013.
Okay,
But the business has been around since about 1978.
wonderful. I'm curious, as you look back over the generations that have had hands in the business, what are some core lessons you've learned that have really caused the greatest impact?
Great. That is biggest thing about it is probably how to develop people,
Mm,
how to find the right team members for your team, and how to keep develop those people, attract them, and develop them and keep them. I think that's probably the most important thing.
right, right. Do you know how you all initially went about finding people at the beginning? Was it word of mouth or
Oh yeah, we always had people word of mouth, and you get excited. I mean, the first thing you do is you go out and you get a job, and you say, "Well, I need some help," and so
yeah.
you look around and say, "Who can I get to help me?" And use the first person to stand there. You go, "Oh, this is great," and then sometimes you learn that's not the best way to recruit people. So probably over the years, we probably changed. I mean, we used to go if you could always if you just showed up, we would hire you, right? And then because the only reason you hire somebody is you're desperate for help right now, and so it's always like a crisis when you're hiring somebody. And we've changed over the years with that. We're more selective with how we recruit people, and we're more interested in really people having the right mindsets and
Yeah.
personality attributes rather than what their specific skill set is, because a lot of our jobs are very specialized, so we end up having to train people anyway. So really their personality attributes and their qualities and values are more important
Mm,
than maybe what their skill set is per se.
that's so good. It's funny. I was talking to another company, and the gentleman started the business. He was like 14, 15 years old, and they grew the business by doing door hangers and knocking on doors and saying, "Hey, do you need us to do concrete leveling?" But, so many of those tactics that started us off in business decades ago before digital revolution came about, some of those are actually still really helpful and good to incorporate today. And so there's this nice dynamic of like bringing back those traditional pieces, whether it was traditional pieces of marketing or even hiring. And then when do we evolve? When do we grow? And so with the evolving of even y'all, how you're hiring, yes, maybe you use the digital systems and maybe it was, doing the referrals and word of mouth even still. But that core piece of we have to hire based on values. And at some point, I think that this is a really interesting transition. At some point, we then have the luxury to hire based off of mindset and values and alignment versus out of desperation. And so did you find, like, at what point in the company's growth do you feel like you guys were able to make that shift from, thank God somebody showed up, let's go, let's go with them, versus, yeah, you're the right fit for us. You're really in alignment.
I think it's probably something we've come to probably maybe in the last 4 or 5 years. We've really changed our
Mhm.
mindset on that more recently. I think that the latest generation, well, we're also in all of the trade fields, I think everybody struggles with, we actually have a labor shortage. So,
Right.
we don't, we have to, we've actually had to sit down and think about how we deal with our people, how we talk to them, how we train them, how we do
Mm,
things, because I mean, if you just fire somebody, they have a job this afternoon. So it's not very much punishment to fire them. So
yeah.
you really do have to change your mindset, and you have to go about, okay, how do I get these people to want to work here? How do
Mm,
I inspire them to do a good quality job? How do I get them to um, support the customers and do things like that? So it's really different mindset. Like probably like when I talked to my dad about his generation, when they came up, the baby boomer generation, there was labor surplus, and of course,
yeah.
they would they would do anything to keep their job.
Mm,
And in our current generation, like especially the Zoomers that are coming up now, they're a completely different mindset. I mean, you really do have to, you need to inspire them.
yes.
And make them want. So a lot of them we've changed that. We tried to make their
Mm,
work feel valuable, make them feel important, and make them want. It's really a goal of making them want to be here and want to
mm.
work here.
Yes, the customer retention or the employee retention side of things. What are you all doing to really allow for that and to really retain people?
Well, we try to pay them competitively, of course.
Mhm.
We try to link their work to, we try to pay them for basically, you know reward them for productive work, so they're not just paid just for putting in time, not just by the
Right.
not you're paid for, doing a good job and doing things like that. And then we also just try to also just constantly reinforce them. We try to let them know when customers are satisfied and happy, and give them those compliments. We try to make sure that they understand how important their work is and how much the people appreciate their work, because a lot of people, I
Mm,
think you also see that with customers too. A lot of customers have a hard time finding a good contractor that will come in their house
yeah.
and repair something and stand behind it, and and show up on time, and just
Yeah.
not make it. I mean, because it's so easy to mess up that experience, that if
Yes.
you can get it right, it's people are actually really grateful for it. And so
Mm,
then if you tell, and it's really amazing. A lot of our team members, they really enjoy making people happy. So
yeah.
so that really goes a long ways.
I really appreciate that element of making sure that they, and it's not just, a lot of times, one of the particular companies we were working with, the sales team, it was actually part of their job to secure the review at the end of the project. So they would go
Hmm.
back and get the review from the customer, and then they'd get a little bit of a bump if they actually secured a review. But it's the operations guys, it's the fulfillment team that's actually really truly getting the review. Like, did they do a good job? And
Yeah.
so I really love passing through and allowing the translation of the Google review or wherever your review is, wherever the feedback lives, telling it to the ops guys. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think it's important. They need to, and it's probably keeping everybody focused on what is the mission of the company,
Yes.
because I mean, and that goes back to them having purpose. So you have to clearly articulate, we do have a mission. We are focused on the mission. It's not, and even when it comes into like different team members, that sometimes like you occasionally have guys they're squabbling among themselves or something over something, whatever, and it's like, hey guys, that's not what we're here for. It's really not. It's about the mission. Keep them focused on the mission, and it works, and it helps a lot.
Mm. What does that look like in practical application? I know, some people will have weekly meet or daily meetings or weekly meetings at 7 a.m. before the ops guys go out. But how do you really make sure that the mission stays front of mind for especially the ops guys, the guys in the field?
Well, our supervisors, we I think reinforce it continually. I mean, it's just a lot of it in our size, because we're not a huge company, so we're still small enough that we have about 50 people, so it's still not so huge that you can't walk around and talk to everybody, and so we focus on that. But like our supervisors do talk to the field guys every morning, and we have monthly meetings with our crews where we have a breakfast, and we go over what
Love that.
who's gotten rewards and awards and just all that kind of stuff. Just kind of keep just do small team building things. But I don't think it takes a lot of that kind of stuff to really make a big difference.
There's something about when they hear those compliments, it's almost that dopamine hit. And I really appreciate your leadership here, where it's let's self-induce dopamine hits for these guys. And if you're the ones at the head and at the top, translating down, giving the dopamine hits, it's going to protect them from having to go external and looking for it. And I think that that's a lot of the reason why people do leave is because they're promised something more exciting. But if we're self-perpetuating the excitement and keeping it alive, it's, man, they don't need to go looking for anywhere else because they've got it within the company.
Oh yeah, and they love, like, if you show a picture of a job that got done really well, and you show it in front of the group so everybody else can see what this crew did, and it was so good. And actually Lindsay with our media stuff, she posts a lot of the stuff on Facebook and Instagram and stuff like that, and so they all get to see each other's jobs and what's going on, and they love it. Even the guys that are more shy, that would act like they don't care, they really do care. They really like it, because you just see them, like when you get a compliment, you show a picture of the job and talk about it. This was a really important job that got done. It was a tight schedule, or it was really difficult, or they had to finish this one in a snowstorm, or whatever happened. And they just, you'll see them, they all just kind of go, oh yeah, that was, and even in the day, like we had a job a couple of years ago with some of the guys, and they were literally, they were up in the mountains here, because we're close to Sierra Nevadas, and they were up in the mountains, and it was snowing, and it's a Friday afternoon, and they've got a 20-mile dirt road to get out of here, and they're nervous about getting out, and the inspector saying, no, you got to stay and finish, and they were totally miserable that day. But I said, you guys are going to love this story in a couple of years, and I said, get your phone out, take a few videos of this, and this will be a great story. And they show those videos all the time to everybody, just talking about this crazy time we were up in the mountains and you can't believe it, and it was just yeah, but that day, I mean, they were mad. They were not having fun.
Yeah.
But they love it now.
Sean, what a good reframe. Man, this is like literally a lesson in true leadership, teaching people how to reframe the present moment into something that is joy inducing or dopamine inducing. That's like a power. And you know what? It's not just a powerful thing, boots on the ground at the job site. If they really learn to master that, it translates the way that they show up for their family when there's a bad day, when the kid's having a fit in the middle of Sam's Club, and they're like, you know what? We're going to laugh about this one day. Teaching them that mindset. I love that. That's so
Yeah.
good.
Yeah,
Wow.
that was a good time. I mean, sometimes when you get it right, you're like, oh, that was a good moment. But yeah, it's like, this is gonna be a great story, and it is a great story. It was a great, and the story's been a lot of fun. Like I said, that day they were looking at me like cross-eyed, like, you're not. I mean, I think there were probably a few cuss words under their breath almost. It was that bad.
That's so good. Well, what a good takeaway, y'all. For those of you listening and watching to this, think about how you can help train your guys, especially the field guys, to reframe. Even your salesmen, if knocking on doors is part of what you have your sales team do, how can they reframe the heat? How can they reframe the rejections? Because man, the more we can train literally our cognitive mental state to embrace the suck. I hate that term, but it's true. Really embracing the present now, even if it is really hard or painful, and just knowing how to reframe it. This is going to be a funny story later. This is for me in some regard. So thank you,
Yeah.
Sean. So good. Okay, my next question for you, in terms of how you've been really leading your team, and ultimately you're hiring them based on mindset, but you're also actively training them in terms of their mindset to be team oriented, to celebrate each other. One question I have in regards to this is kind of a little bit of a curveball. It wasn't what I was expecting to ask you, but given your mention of Lindsay posting on social media that really allows amplifying what the team's doing and really feeds back into team retention and team celebration, what was that transition like to focus more on digital and posting on social media and investing in that regard?
Yeah, I don't know if I can say honestly I had a great epiphany on that. I mean, part of it for us is, I mean, we always thought it would help a lot, but it was a black box from my perspective on a lot of that stuff. I mean, we've done, like, since Lindsay's joined our team, I think that's really we've seen an opportunity there that we didn't. I mean, we've heard everybody. I mean, you've heard people say, "Oh, you should post on social media." And I go, I don't know if I don't get it, because I'm just old enough that I kind of think it was probably okay, but I just didn't get it, and it's I think it does help a lot though. I mean, and like I said, part of it is getting customers, but the part like I've seen that where with the cruise, like I'm amazed how much our guys look at our social media and share it
Mm.
with among themselves, and I've really liked that part of it a lot. And we get a lot of customers. I think it's probably we probably do get a lot of customers from it, but I think it's probably hard to measure.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard to measure, and so then the why has to be bigger than, "Oh, is it just generating is this just a lead flow source, or is there more to it?" And I think that you've really stumbled on the gold there that, yes, it can drive new customers, but really it's a customer or employee retention tactic as well to really make them feel celebrated. So,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
No, I enjoy that part of it for sure.
The concept of systems. I've been talking a lot about this with other people, and a lot of folks struggle with having really good systems in place in terms of tracking their customers. So, talk about you mentioned this, which I so appreciate, is that actually a real true lead source kind of hard to track and measure, right? So it's kind of hard to track and measure, but for your lead sources, how are you guys capturing the leads that are coming in? What kind of tools are you guys using? What kind of systems do you have to measure and see what are the most effective sources for lead generation?
We use a system called i360, which is a based off Salesforce. I don't know if you're familiar with that or
Mhm.
not, but we found that to be, and that was fairly recently. We started that about 2 years ago, I think. And so we didn't use a formal CRM. We had another program, I guess, was sort of a CRM, but this is a really powerful program. I mean, it is truly amazing how much more that helps you. So that has helped us get
Yes.
some visibility into there that we didn't have before. And so I think for a lot of companies that probably having a CRM of some sort is probably really good. It's I didn't think this years ago, but just as you get customers, that list of customers that you have, you can, I mean, those are just, it just, that actually gets to be more and more valuable over time. I
Mm,
wish I had better records of some of the ones, because we look at like what we do, we probably do about 300 jobs a year. And, over the last 12 years, we've probably lost some of those customers. And it would be probably good to
right.
be able to just, if nothing else, maybe send them an email once in a while and say,
Yeah.
does anything, how's everything working out that we put in for you? Are you still happy with it? Or there's a new customer, which these new programs allow you to do that. And
Mm,
I think over time, it's another one of those things that compounds and makes the business more successful over time. And it doesn't seem like it's probably not everything in the business, but it's another push on the wheel that,
mm.
helps you get stronger and more efficient.
And what a good point, because y'all, the more that we actually have those records retained, if your goal is to preserve your legacy and hand it down to your family, or to hand it off to someone internally in your business, or you want to sell it, that can be part of what really adds amplification of the value of the company is that record and that customer list.
Oh yeah, and then being able to actually sort through it, right? So when you get up to where you're talking about 3 or 4 thousand names, well, then having an effective way, like the i360, or it's a Salesforce type program, but it's very easy to search. It's very easy to make reports out of it,
Hmm.
and just retabulate the data in a way that's effective for what you're trying to do. So some of these new programs are really really valuable. But that was kind of brand new to us. I know that's old for a lot of people. A lot of people have probably been messing with that stuff for years, and for us that was relatively new, but it was a very insightful.
Yeah, well, Sean, to be honest with you, the more I'm talking with different business owners, the more I've worked with different trades companies, the more I see this isn't there's not a lot of people that have really good systems if they're under a certain percentage of revenue. It's like obviously if you're at a 50 million, $100 million revenue company, you probably have some really good CRM data systems in place. But even some that I worked with at 35 million, they were not emailing their customers. They never talked to them after they did business with them, and they really didn't have a good system in place to keep records. So I think that no matter the size of the business, but especially for those of us that are like on the smaller end, when I got involved with my dad's business, it was all spreadsheets, and
Yeah.
everyone everyone was in a name in a column, and so it's like, man, we're all at different stages. But I think that for in general, I think this is something that I've just seen across the board that in the trades industry, I think we could use a lot more in terms of organizing the data.
Yeah, no, for sure. But I
Yeah,
would recommend that to anybody that's doing anything is look into a CRM program. That's a pretty good usage.
good.
time and money, I think.
You said i360.
That's what we use. Yes, i360.
Perfect. And then in terms of what you guys use when you're actually boots on the ground working with a customer, do you use i360 when it comes to like sending an automated message, hey, we're coming to your house to begin your job? Like when it's actually doing the project management, what do you all use for that?
We haven't gotten that automated yet. We're still doing it
Okay.
just the old fashioned way, basically calling people. But I do notice a few companies around town are doing that. You're starting these, and I'm sure that the system has that capability. We just haven't gotten there yet. But
Yeah.
it's kind of nice. We had one of our vendors the other day um, did an on the way text message, a concrete cutting company, and they were a subcontractor for us. But yeah, we had scheduled them to go out to a job, and we get the text message that shows up says we're on our way. And I thought, yeah, that's something we need to start thinking about working on because so you're starting to see it happen.
Yes, it's such a big conversation around artificial intelligence, and it's kind of overwhelming, especially if we don't even have that first touch point. Like if you don't even have i360, it's just like this is so much to think about. But now once we've got kind of that basic CRM set up, now we can, the sky's the limit in terms of automation and things like that moving forward. So I really love that tool. I like Go High Level as a CRM tool, but I'm gonna look into i360 too because I think that there's a lot there.
Okay. What was the name of the one you like?
I like Go High Level.
Go high level. Okay.
Yeah, it's a CRM, but then also it has some ability to track data beyond just like customer record keeping, and you can send emails from there. So it's a little bit more holistic, which I appreciate. Um,
Okay.
yeah, so that's been a good one. I was just talking with someone the other day who has Builder comms.
Builder
So
Trend probably.
oh, I've heard of Builder Trend.
Yeah, we used to use that too, and
Okay.
that had some nice features to it. Um, I think it's more designed for like I say a custom home builder that has like
Yes.
if you do 300 jobs a year like we do, it's not really as well suited for that.
Mm. Yes, and so that's a really I'm glad you brought that up because some of these are actually super custom to a very niche industry, which makes it that much more powerful. So if you are a custom home builder, my uncle has a very big operation in Texas for custom home building. They use Builder Trend, but it wasn't right for my family painting business. So
Yeah.
it's very niche to find the right one. What else in terms of systems? Because we talked about how when we go to sell the business or just grow it, one of the biggest levers of value is that customer list. What are systems and processes are also another lever that people are buying. They're buying kind of the back end operations. And when they're looking at our business for evaluation, it's like, okay, well, how much do I have to be involved? How much do I have to fix? Those kind of questions. And one question I have for you in terms of the financial system and how you guys do on the back end of like distribution. Growing up, I would go with my dad to the bank, and he would have checks he would get the checks in a white envelope for the team, and we'd drive around to the guy's house and drop off the checks for payment. Since then, we've adapted to ADP. But what are you all using, just on the financial side, that has really allowed you all to scale with having 50 employees?
Well, for our financial program, we use a program called Foundation. I don't know if you're
Hmm,
familiar with that. And
no,
basically, we run our accounting and our payroll with that program.
nice.
So,
Okay.
and Foundation, I don't know if you're, but it's a fairly robust program. I think that's one of the reasons we use it. We're located where we're at in Reno. We work in Reno, Nevada, but we're 15 miles from the California border in Lake
Okay.
Tahoe. So we have part of Lake Tahoe is in Nevada and part of it's in California, and we do a
Yes.
lot of work at the lake, and in another town that's adjacent to that called Truckee. So there's a lot of vacation homes and a lot of business for our services in those areas. So we have our payroll. We do, and we do some public works jobs too. So our payroll
Mhm.
can get complicated between two states and
Yeah.
private payrolls and public Davis Bacon type of jobs. So that's why we ended up going with Foundation, is it had a robust enough accounting program to handle all those
Love that.
problems.
Yeah, the multi-state thing, that's hard. I feel like when you get to that level, it's like you get a little cross-eyed if you don't have a good system in place.
Yeah, and it kind of we had to figure it out just because of geographically where we're at. Like
Yeah.
we probably, even though we're in Nevada, 35% of our work is in California. And we
Mm,
do a lot of work. I mean, we drive there in the same day and work in California. So, and
mm.
our guys all live here in Nevada, but we work over the border constantly.
Mhm. Well, good for you because the marketing in a different state is gonna you have to make it look and sound really different. How do you guys handle that? I mean, this is might be more so a Lindsay question, but how does she allow for, our office is here in Nevada, but we will, cross the board over into California. But has that ever been tricky for you guys?
I don't think it's a huge problem in our market because a lot of people, like I said, like in Lake Tahoe and Truckee,
Hmm.
there's a lot of those are vacation homes. So the homeowners aren't necessarily living there full time. They might live in the Bay Area and they're trying to, so they're kind of used to having to look around to find somebody to work. I mean, that area up there, there's not a large community. There are people that live and work there too, but if you're doing work up there, you're often trying to hire those people out of Reno. So I think a lot of people in those markets are looking for people in Reno to do the work.
That's so good. What a good point, Sean. The ability to really understand your type of audience. Vacation buyer is going to be or homeowner is going to be very, very different than a local resident homeowner. So I
Hmm.
really love that nuance. And y'all, for one of our foundation repair businesses had 8 different regions and 8 different offices that they were covering, and those homeowners change a lot. And so as we're looking to scale, because one of the biggest things that we're asking you about is how did you all scale to this level over the last 40 years? And one of those I can only imagine, Sean, is really understanding the difference in the homeowners in the different regions and territories that you service in order to allow for expansion.
Yeah, I think it's part of that. I mean, you definitely learn that stuff over the years for sure.
Yeah, yeah. The last question I have for you, Sean, is how have you evolved, as you look back over the last however many you said 2013, you really have been involved consecutively since. But in watching your grandfather and watching your dad and watching even your dad and your aunt, it is so hard to do family business. And I'm curious, if you had to pick that one trait in terms of character that is so essential to be able to work within a family business to allow for the relationship to evolve and grow as the business evolves and grows. What is that?
Oh, that's a hard one. I don't know if you could nail it down to one thing sometimes. I think you do have to evolve. You have to you're not you're probably not the person right now that you need to be to get where you want to go. So you have to you I struggle with this sometimes too, but I think you have to sit down and imagine who do I need to be the person to be where I want to be when I envision this business being, and am I that person yet? And okay, if I'm not that person, maybe I need to start working on being that person that that's going to run this whatever size company you imagine you want to run. Because you got to say, am I really that? And so you have to evolve. I mean, obviously, good ethics are critical. You can't. I mean, everything you do in life compounds, and if you do bad or unethical things, you're never gonna. I mean, I don't think you ever really succeed. I mean, sometimes you get away with it for a while. I mean, you see people that are there's. I think all of us have an example somewhere in your life of somebody you go, that person's just rotten to the core and they're terrible and they're just getting ahead and they're succeeding and you're almost sick about it. You just
Wow.
it makes you so angry. But I don't actually believe that works. I think I mean, if you want to succeed, you always have to do you have to be ethical. You have to do the right thing. There isn't any shortcuts. You have to work. You have to do the work. You have to also learn how to trust other people and delegate. As you start out, I mean, as we all start out when we're young, we're wearing tool bags and we're doing the work, and then you realize that as you grow, you say, well, it doesn't really matter how good of a craftsman I am at this point because I need to learn how to do social media, or I need to learn how to find somebody that can do social media, or there's a lot of other skills because there's a lot more to business than just I think I probably put a lot of credence in like the craft. I mean, being able to do the craft. Like you got to know your job and you got to do a good job and you've got to be able to do good work. And I thought everything was there, but there's a lot more to the business than just that. I mean, so that's all really important too. But then you do have to learn how to, finance. You need to learn how to do, learn your numbers and know your costs and check your costs and stay on top of that stuff and learn about the marketing. And there's always and you really do have to sort through that stuff because if at the end of the day, there's a lot of people that see bits and pieces of it, but it might steer you the wrong way if you don't learn those things yourself. And so you have to kind of look at it all. I don't know if there's one thing you can do that that is the breakthrough. You kind of have to just do all of it and evolve and just keep changing, because you're not going to be the person I was 10 years ago is not the same person I am today.
Right.
And I think you're going to be different
Yeah.
in the
I
future too.
That's honestly, I couldn't have asked for a better answer to that question, Sean. I mean, who do I need to become to fulfill? We call this a craft and the calling, because the craft is, to your point, it's a piece of it. To fulfill on the calling that we have as either the business owner or the founder or the president, in order for us to fulfill on that call that we have to lead well, who do I need to become in order
Yeah.
to do that? So thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time. This has been such an incredible conversation, and I'm really grateful for you.
Well, thanks. It was nice to meet you too, Christine.
It was nice to meet you. Have a good day, Sean.
You
And
too. Bye.
y'all, I'll see you on the next episode of The Craft and Calling.